Okay. that the picture on Bionic Dance's new video is freaking hilarious. It's such a good dig. It's That just cracks me up. It's good. It's in really good humor. You know, it really cracks me up. It's very funny. So, so uh, now I didn't want. Now I put that video in the playlist because there's, I see the connection. I see, what the thing is. Gregory Sadler also did a demonstrating proof of God video. I mean, I could make a separate playlist to get, if you guys want to joust about that. I really, I'm not gonna put that video in this playlist though because it's that's like a side issue. But I'm not debating the existence of God in this playlist. So I so mainly, like, really, actually the reason I'm even making a video is because it was kicked off by the Britishers video, which is all right. The banks, so the banking crash, and I'm just gonna put this on real quick to jog my thinking again because I did want to, like, I didn't want to leave it on this. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to touch on here. So let's say I use this situation as an analogy, right? So you created a big bubble, and it just amounted to nothing, right? So what I'm thinking, though, in this case, what did the bubble cost us, and what did we learn from it? So I see this, like, from my perspective, this is just a huge win. Not because I wasn't shooting for the thing everybody thinks I'm shooting for. Everybody thinks that I'm looking at, like, the sparkly, shiny lure. That's not. I'm looking at the long-term picture here. So to me, like, whatever. I don't want to talk too much about, but I see how this, I win no matter what. So, the thing that was that's kind of funny to me is that in order for now, this could have been a huge thing. This could have really been like a really cool thing, but it's just not. It didn't take that. That's not the path that happened. So in this case, but I do think, like, what I appreciate though, like, is or what I'm thinking is, as things get more structured, that this kind of analysis and foresight is going to be important, moving forward. It's not just a matter of sort of creating this bubble and sort of like organizing just based upon how, like, what we saw with the behavior of the participants. So there's a lot of caution that as things get bigger, which to me, that's sort of an inevitability. It's a matter of it is a matter of assessing the situation so that you don't want to get a reputation for blowing smoke up people's asses, right? So that But you could definitely see sort of the potential of the thing that's sort of that's happening here. So I think that's the main thing I wanted to address with this.
Also known as the banking crash or the credit crunch, being at the root of this is in fact
Right, you had the
at the
JP
outset.
thing in there with the
Some blame the government. Personally, I don't
yeah, I
think
mean, it's hard for me to keep up with this. This is very complex. I kind of feel like I should study this. I feel like I should learn it though. What your take is on this and what you're thinking about this, because it probably is a really useful analogy, and it might even help me to understand AA better too, because I guess he has his own take on this. I know he's not going to agree with you because but so yeah, I think I hit the main point. I'm not really.
because Northern Rock kept its business model afloat by everlastingly re-borrowing short term. The idea of their model, and one can only assume that other banks were doing much the same, was to lay off the mortgages as quickly as possible as, guess what, mortgage-backed securities. Now
So
everyone believed one did securities, which of course was mainly the bank.
okay, so there's the idea. Okay, one thing you talked about is conflicts of interest. I think that's okay. So I'll sort of something that's sort of something simple-minded enough that it's like, oh yeah, I can work with that. Because this stuff is really foreign to me. Like I never actually tried to pick this stuff apart before. But so one thing could be avoiding conflicts of interest, and I might consider were there any conflicts of interest in what was going on here? I can't think of any. I don't know. I don't know. The conflict of interest thing seems. Well, I guess. Well, yeah. I guess there is the conflict. Okay, there's an obvious. There's now there's like almost like a mind. Conflict of interest. How could you not laugh at that? But uh, you know, uh, that was, I guess, so yeah, in the future, you'd want to create it such that, the you knew that the parties actually wanted to be involved, with, I could say in a simple sense, play involved in playing the game of the bubble, which is kind of like, once again, it plays into your idea where I guess you would counter with, you are just creating the bubble. But like to me, the bubble is not, it's not just about finance. And I always think things are in the air anyway, so I never, nothing's ever really settled in life. But but there's a much bigger thing here than what? Than okay, so the bubble. So the idea of the bubble, right? So Is it possible to create relationships, through the computer screen, that create value, that create like really fucking cool value? You know what I mean? That that become important to the way the conversation is structured in general, which, could become important to all kinds of things. Okay, we can go back to how much of a nightmare, to me, it's sort of looking in the past. I don't know, people, I don't know what's going on in the ground. I mean, I just get my perspective based upon what seems to be the case to me. Like, not too long ago, we were dealing with what seemed to me to be a much more major crisis, even civilization crisis, right? Like, where we just seemed fucking confused. Like, it seemed like, you had sort of confused, or not even confused, very ideologically possessed radicals kind of really like just working their way, and they seemed like they were in charge of everything. It just doesn't seem like the case anymore, and it was just kind of like flipping the switch. It wasn't really a big deal, like once you hit it from the right, hit it at the right spot. Now, I don't know if anybody else agrees with me about that, but it seems to be the case to me. So the conversation, just how people are thinking, how people are talking, that can do really, really big things. And you might think of, what kind of things do we want to accomplish, right? So my ambition or my thinking it's much more to do with what can we make possible? What kind of dreams might we have about what could be, and then actually engineering in the direction of the things that we want to come true. But if we're not thinking about it, if we're not imagining it, if we're not excited about it, we're not going to be engineering for it. So, do you want to call that a bubble?
This worked out wonderfully to buy a house. In fact, you could purchase the house on an interest-only mortgage, meaning mortgages was going on based on computer questionnaires with each other. They placed gargantuan sums into worthless pap, using sleight of hand when it came to their reserves. They financed themselves on the short-term money markets. Sets in motion a torrent of snow which overwhelms everything. Most likely the US banks set the snowball in motion and needed to be saved by governments. Fire of incompetence, which was their latter-day record. It was not the wolves of Wall Street. It was your standard run-of-the-mill high street bank which did it. Now you can do what they did, baffle yourself.
Okay, so one of the things that you talked about in this was, everybody assumed that the people underneath them were competent. So that's something to add so there was the conflict of interest was a critical flaw in this particular case, where there wasn't going to be any kind of meaningful, I don't know, productive interaction between the parties, right? So that was one thing. And the other thing was is competencies, right? So, and that's tricky, right? Because it's like, what? Then you got to get into what are we competency, like, at what? That's tricky, right? So yeah, there's the idea of does everybody underneath, you know, if you tell somebody to do something, can they actually perform, make good, fulfill the obligation, fulfill the contract? That does seem down the line. Like it doesn't seem. That does seem like we're not at that point yet. Except probably just business and legal related stuff. Really, that's like my main. And I'm not sure how to set that up yet. But yeah. I guess competency for me is just in the relationship. I guess it's just what, you know, how do I perceive the history of the relationship? And if it's, you know, if you're like, oh wow, that person pulls through. Like in this case, we just create interesting. We're trying to create interesting content, interesting conversation, just stuff that gets people thinking, and try and sort of like set the machine in motion in a good way, because anything might set the machine in motion. So why not just, you know, grab the bull by the horns, right? You know, just set the machine in motion in a good way. And it's just a matter of like, I guess, are you doing that? Does it seem like you're doing that? Yeah, I guess those are my thoughts. I could keep digging, but it's just really fucking slow coming right now. And this has probably been painful enough to listen to as it is. So, all right. All right. Peace out, y'all.